What's going on, everyone? Welcome, everybody, to tonight's live stream with the Anthony Garcia. I'll introduce Anthony here in just a little bit, but how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm excited to be here with you, Andrew. Let's talk this thing up, man. It's
Yeah,
nothing more exciting to talk sales in the evening, get some closers on, get some people listening and engaging. I mean, it's what I love to do. It's what you love to do. So I'm humbled and honored, bud.
yeah, man. Thanks for being on the show and for joining us. And I think I love you because you just love sales. You love closing. Like you truly are dedicated to the craft in a way that some people, when they get a little long in the tooth, they've been in business for a long time, decade or two, they start to kind of lose their hunger, but not you, man. I love that about you. So I'm excited to start to break some things down and ask you some tough questions. You think you
Let's
can deliver tonight?
Yeah, man. I definitely think I can deliver, and I am. It's funny you say that, man. I like to be hungry, and I've just had
Mm,
the conversation with my wife on getting comfortable. Actually, makes me really uncomfortable. So we just talked about it. Like there's it's not that I'm not content. It's just that when I get really comfortable in life, either financially comfortable, professionally comfortable. I'm like I got to do something. I got to got to press myself. Got to grow. And
mm.
so this project of catapulting commissions, this book, this brand, this whole deal has forced me to be uncomfortable because I mean, I've walked in, I'm brand new, right? Nobody knows who the heck you are. And you're like, okay, how am I going to build this thing? And it's
Mm.
just like, it's a digital A of cold calling. So it's super fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you've experienced a lot of success in a short while. So maybe we'll even get to a little bit of that as well in terms of catapulting commissions and your journey there. By the way, for those of the uninitiated, though, Anthony is an international best-selling author and expert in sales training. He's also an expert in recruiting. He's been featured in Forbes, CNBC, Fox, CBS. He really lives what he preaches as well, and like I said, is truly dedicated to the craft. He started in direct sales, ran a big business there, and then he transferred into B2B sales, which is kind of his specialty. And if I'm not mistaken, he currently oversees a $500 million organization. With a B, that's quite a bit. So he runs a team and does really well in the medical device sales space. And just, in the past year or two, Anthony, you can kind of clarify this a little bit more, but he's written his book, Catapulting Commissions, which is an international bestseller. He's a keynote speaker. He shared the stage with people like Les Brown and Jack Canfield. So you're just an honor to have you, man. And thanks for joining the squad and jumping on. So we're glad you're here.
Dude, I'm excited to be here, man. I'm completely humbled and honored. Everything you said, I would say, is 99.9% accurate, except I share on the leadership team. So I'm not the one person overseeing a $500 million, but I'm on the leadership team that does that. So I want to
Sure.
definitely give credit to those that are involved in there. But Catapulting Commissions, the book, came out about 2 years ago, or launched not even 2 years ago. Last year in January, launched international bestseller, 6 different
Mm,
countries in the category of sales and marketing, which is highly competitive. So when I tell people it became an international bestseller, they're like, this isn't underwater basket weaving. This was like, I try to go compete with the big boys. Double down on that. It
mm.
just got announced. It just posted on Facebook. It's endorsed by Selling Power Magazine as a best sales book for 2021, which is huge. And I've known since December. And it was like having, I knew it. I haven't shared it with anybody, like other than my wife. And then, I just texted my family last Friday when it came out that, hey, here's it is. And my mom was like, how long have you known about it? I'm like, I've known for a while. I was just waiting. I knew it was happening. I wanted to see that endorsement. And so
Mm.
once that came in, man, that's super, super fun to share with people.
Congrats, man. I definitely want to circle back on that journey of becoming an author and a little bit about that. I also want to talk about what we promised, which was, hey, some great sales stuff. By the way, if you're with us, we can see your comments. So drop a comment or drop a question if you have a question for us tonight. But talk to me, man. Let's just start with the big idea. What makes a customer say yes? Everyone wants to know, how do we get a customer to yes from no? You seem to know almost better than anyone else I know. Talk to us a little bit. What makes somebody say yes over no?
Yeah, man. Well, I will say this, right? For somebody to say yes and not to say no, there's really no such thing as hardcore closing or hardcore selling,
Hmm.
because that temporary yes, that initial yes response, yeah, it might get you a revenue and it might get you an order, but it's not going to get you a customer. It's not going to get repeating, recurring, long-standing revenue. So to get someone to say yes, I guess you really have to understand the psychology of your consumer. And the psychology of consumers is for all consumers, regardless if it's B2B, B2C. Maybe it's a long sales process where you're in enterprise sales and there's multiple people in your process. The ability to influence somebody to say yes or to say no is based on a couple fundamental principles. One, the psychology of sales exists in this platform. People will say yes or make a decision about a sale based on emotions and then justify the purchase logically after the fact. So people have a natural tendency to say yes or no on emotions, and they justify that decision with logic after the fact. And if you think about something, we've all done it. We've all gone somewhere and we've said yes to something, whether it's buying something small, whether it's ordering food, ordering an extra dessert. I mean, you name it. We've said yes or no to something based on emotions. We justify with logic afterwards. Here's why consumers will say yes or no. Two fundamental principles in life that you and I have, Andrew. It's our innate emotions. It's our innate who we are. We want to either A, avoid a pain or loss in our life, or B, we want to experience pleasure. That's it. If your product, service, or offering can help me experience the pleasure, I'm going to say yes. If your product, service, or offering can help me avoid a pain or a loss in my life, then I will also say yes. And if you can't do either one of those, then I'll say no. And we quantify that by saying, okay, I tell people, I'm like, well, I'm a firm believer on pain first before pleasure. So if I can identify what pain you're going to experience by telling me no, oh, we're going to hammer on that. We're going to dive deep in that. We're going to have that conversation. And when I'm done with you, you're going to be telling me, man, if I don't say yes to you, this is going to suck. So it's not really selling. It's just solving a problem. It's creating a solution. So to hammer it, you're going to get a customer to say yes when you realize they'll say yes if you can help them avoid a pain or a loss in life, or you can help them experience a pleasure. That's it. Super simple. Yes or no, broken down in 2 minutes.
Love it, man. Thanks so much. And I totally agree. Those are the two motivational forces, and people are going to make decisions off of emotion. Doesn't matter how logical people say they are. Even if they say, oh, I'm a logical buyer, right? They're saying that because they think they're going to feel logical when they say yes, and that's going to make them feel very smart. Now, how do you kind of rebut somebody who says, look, Anthony, that sounds kind of mean. Like, you want to talk to me about pain? You want to put me in pain in the sales process? Like, honestly, I'm too nice of a person. I guess sales isn't for me because I don't want to be mean to people. That sounds wrong. What would you say to someone like that? I want to obviously hear your take.
Yeah, well, I would say right now on the show, I'm pretty animated when I'm saying you're gonna have to experience this pain. If you were working for me and you're like, hey, Anthony, I don't feel comfortable. I think having someone dive deep into that pain, I would say, well, you're focusing on the wrong word. You're focusing on let's change the word from pain to problem. You want to avoid a problem, not avoid a pain, because the truth is, for you to say, for whatever I'm selling, product, widget, my vision, whatever I'm selling you, there's a consequence for saying no. So I have to magnify what that consequence is. I use the word pain because it's impactful. And I would tell somebody, I'm like, look, we're in the world of sales because we're solving problems for our customers. That's it. We're not in the world of sales to manipulate a decision. And I share this with people. And I just ran a sales training last night on a webinar. I'm like, look, what we do, we don't manipulate. Right. The art of manipulation by sales is antiquated. It's old. It's dirty. I know some of the guys still teaching today, and I think they're full of crap. That ability to manipulate is horrible. But what I do say is, look, we're going to present a solution to a problem. Now, where it comes is maybe that person didn't realize they had a problem until I started talking with them. But when I leave, you'll hear and understand there's a consequence for telling me no. Whatever that consequence is, pain, problem, whatever it may be, whatever you want to classify it, I would tell that person, help your prospect see the consequence of saying no.
Awesome. And another way to look at that, if you're like, okay, pain, pleasure, how do I wrap my head around this? Potentially consider that you're not actually putting them in more pain. You're simply helping them see the pain they're already in, or the future pain they will experience if they don't work with you or invest in your product or service. And so what you're actually doing, it's like a very noble thing to bring their attention to where there's a problem, as opposed to kind of what everyone else is doing is saying, oh, there's no problem here, and letting them go about their merry way without your awesome product or service that could really solve that, be the solution to that problem. Consequence-based questions. What are some of the best like consequence-based questions? You know, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but when you think about how to go there and ask a deeper question besides, you know, hey, what are your pains here? But actually get into the emotion of it. Do you have any thoughts on how to phrase those questions or things that really help drive the emotion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely think you have to find out how to quantify that pain, right? So there's a way to quantify the pain. Either you're quantifying it for time or you're quantifying it for money. That's the two most important things in our life, right? If you think about everything, right? What do people care about? Time and money. So if I can quantify this pain to the time or the money that you saying no, then I can get you to engage. I can get you to say yes. So to help quantify time, let's say I'm selling a product and my product saves time. And I tell somebody, whatever your current method, what you're currently using, how much time do you spend doing X, Y, Z, whatever I'm asking. Mm-hmm. And here's my answer, Andrew. Whatever they respond, I say, wow. That's it. Just say wow. I don't say it's a lot. I don't say it's a little. I just say wow. Reason being is it sends enough emotion where it causes that person to think. And if they say, oh my goodness, they're incredibly fast or something like that, and it's not the answer I want to hear, then I dig deeper. I'm like, well, walk me through your process. Right. Mm-hmm. And as I'm having somebody walk me through the process of whatever their current method is, whatever you're currently using, walk me through that process. In my mind, I'm hearing that and I'm counting that time. I'm like, okay, this is XYZ amount of time. This is how long you spent doing this. And I know whatever my service or offering I'm selling is going to save you time. I'm not going to just say, hey, I'm going to save you time. Because that's simple, right? That's basic sales 101. Oh, you spend 30 minutes. You spent 30 minutes doing it your current way. You've always done it. I got a product that's going to save you 15 minutes and it's be there for 15 minutes. No. I'm going to quantify it. So I'm going to have you walk me through your process, explain to me step by step. And each time you explain a step that is time consuming, my response is, wow. Oh, tell me about it. And I get that person to keep talking to me about it. And once I hear this person lay out this whole process of how much time, I say, I'm like, man, 30 minutes of time? How many times a week or how many times a month do you do this? Whatever the number is, I magnify it in my head. I'm like, man, you're spending 36 hours a year doing payroll. You're spending 36 hours a year doing whatever the situation may be. And I get that person to acknowledge, and they're like, yeah. And here's the best part. You can hammer home. Let that person be someone who's an entrepreneur or someone who gets paid for by the hour, right? Well, how much do you get paid for by the hour? Or what's your time worth per hourly basis? $200. 36 hours times $200. Holy crap, man. You're telling me you're spending $7,200 of your time doing this, whatever the situation is. And once you get that person to quantify it and get belief in it, at the end, I say, look, man, I got to be honest with you. You might have a method that's effective. I'm not here to try to sell you something because, I don't want to be known as just a salesperson. But I have an offer that's probably going to save you some time and some money. Not even probably, to be honest with you, Andrew, it's going to save you time and money. Let me tell you a little bit about it. And that's it. But what I did there is I set up that expectation. I set up my prospect to acknowledge they had a timing issue. And I use what I call, there's a lot of research and what we call the positive no. And I haven't dialed it down completely, but I know I've used it in multiple examples. And it's one of my projects for 2021 is how to effectively use a positive no. But by simply saying, look, man, I'm not here to try to sell you anything. It's a positive no. I'm literally saying, look, I'm not here to sell you something. I'm just here to show you something, because I know if I go back to the psychology of why someone says yes or no, you're going to say yes or no if I can show you a pleasure or have something that's going to offer you to avoid a pain or a loss. So I'm going to help you avoid the pain of wasting X amount of hours and X amount of dollars in your current method. I hope that brings it home a little bit.
Yeah, I wrote down quantify the pain. I think that's a really great tip there, right? And so you were able to show, okay, this person is spending $7,200 of their time essentially, to do X, Y, and Z process. If you have a solution for $1,500, right, or even $3,600, it's a slam dunk, right? So, just helping people see actually quantifying the pain, I think, is really interesting. I think, let me ask you this. I've kind of taught some people in the past that it's okay occasionally, if you have rapport, to ask a personal question almost. Would you even go as far as to say, hey, what would you do with those extra, 36 hours? Would you spend time with your family? Would you spend time with your friends? Like, would you pick up a hobby? Like, do you think it's okay to kind of bridge the gap between the professional and the personal at a certain point in the sales process?
Dude, I don't think it's just okay. I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think there's absolutely a necessity for consumers, for people who are shopping, to see you as a person. All right. So for example, I work right now, in majority of my time when I'm selling, so to speak, right? I'm in the medical field, right? I'm working with highly talented, highly educated physicians, surgeons, supply chain directors, etc. And and one of the things I like to do with people is I like for that person to see me as a person, not just the sales rep, right? Because when you see somebody as just a sales rep, you have this stigma like, oh, you're in sales, like, oh, you're always trying to sell me something. No, I'm a human just like you. I have a family just like you. I wake up just like you. There's times I'm frustrated. Just like we have a lot more in common than you anticipate. And so having that personal conversation, whether I get personal, like what would you do with your time? I even tell people, I'm like, hey man, sometimes if I'm going to ask somebody to do business with me, I like to share a personal story before I even ask that question. I share a personal story that's relevant to the discussion and relevant to this person's interest. But the reason I share a personal story is it literally takes that barrier down of salesperson or consumer. It makes us two friends, two people having a dialogue, having a conversation. I share, some of my closest friends were once my customers. Some of the people I interact with on a consistent basis were once my customers. And it doesn't happen because I'm the world's greatest salesperson or I sold them the best life-saving product. It happens because during our interaction, they saw me as a human, as a peer, not as Anthony Garcia, the sales rep.
Nice. I totally agree. And I think that when we also are connecting those dots to their personal life, they can start to see how this actually affects them. Maybe because of your product or service, someone's able to hire 10 more people. And it's like, okay, what would it be like to be able to hire 10 more people on the staff? Or maybe they're able to earn a promotion. Hey, what would that promotion do for you and your family? Especially if we can link it to what matters to them most. So in the discovery phase, I usually try to pinpoint, what does this person value? Like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about efficiency? Are they talking about integrity? Are they talking about family? And it's like, hey, linking that back to what matters most to them. Hey, I know you said you had a couple kids, probably be awesome to be able to set up them for a better life and all of that good stuff. If you're able to earn this promo through my product, right? And it just adds extra stuff on top. Back to the pleasure topic. But I think that this is really, really good stuff. Talk to me a little bit. You told me as we were just like prepping a little bit that you weren't a big fan of SMART goals. And go ahead and for the uninitiated, define what a SMART goal is, and then rip it to shreds, man. Why are you not a fan of SMART goals? Because I honestly don't think I've heard of anybody who doesn't like SMART goals. Like this is a hot take, man.
Well, one, I appreciate it, and I will share this. I have when I first started promoting this, that I think SMART goals are dumb. It was one of my first early posts on social media that had so much engagement on it because everyone loves SMART goals. I think they're stupid. And for the uninitiated, I'll explain a SMART goal. A SMART goal is a fundamental goal. It was created by George T. Doran in 1981. So it's a 40-year-old concept. And a SMART goal concept is if you set a goal and it falls into these SMART parameters, you have a goal that you're more likely to hit, right? Is it specific, which is the S? Is it M? Is it measurable? Is it action orientated? Is it relevant? Is it time bound? And when you go to this, the idea behind this article that was written in 1981 was how can you utilize SMART goals for the benefit of the organization or company that they were working for, which is why HR professionals, and none of my HR are on my social media, but I hate when HR professionals send out these emails that, hey, have this conversation with your sales reps. Hey guys, it's 2021. Let's talk about setting SMART goals. The reason I hate it and the reason I think it's stupid is a SMART goal gives a goal setter, a sales goal setter, a false sense of security. It tells you that if you set a SMART goal, you're in a better position to achieve your goal. And that is just the false. That's the wrongest thing possible. Setting a SMART goal that's specific, measurable, action-oriented, relevant, time-bound, yeah, that's the basic fundamentals. And maybe in the world of HR, a SMART goal is good. But in the world of high-performance sales professionals, high-performance entrepreneurs, we don't just do the basics. And so to live in this fallacy that a SMART goal is going to help you be successful is wrong. Reason being, it doesn't get any emotion involved. Reason being, there's no impact on the reward associated with your SMART goal. The SMART goals don't identify the fact that 92% of goals that are set for the New Year's resolutions fail. SMART goals don't identify the fact that only 3% of the US population actually writes down their goal. SMART goals doesn't tell you that if you write down your goal and you look at it every day, it gives you a 96% chance increasing of hitting your goal. It just says this is the basic fundamentals. So the reason I tell people SMART goals are dumb goals is because it's a blanket statement that doesn't outline humans. It doesn't outline passion. And so I tell people, I'm like, if you're going to set a SMART goal, I'm going to tell you it's a dumb. You need to be smarter. And so I tell people when they come and work with me, we're going to set smarter goals. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, look, I'm not rewriting the wheel here. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm simply saying a SMART goal, strong basic foundation. But I mean, the show's better than rich. My book, Catapulting Commissions, it's not, hey, better than below average. It's not, hey, give me the average. So why in the hell would we have a SMART goal that's designed for average performance? So I tell people, I'm like, look, you need to set a smarter goal. We're going to take the basic fundamentals of SMART. That's the foundation. We're going to go with the E. We're going to add emotions to your goal. So much so that you're emotionally invested in this goal. And I tell people, if your goal doesn't scare the crap out of you, it's not a good goal. If your goal is not the first thing you think about in the morning or the last thing you think about at night, you're not going to get it. And I've been told, I've had family say, Anthony, you're a workaholic. This is unhealthy. And I'm like, no, I disagree. There's data out of Simon Fraser University that says if you love what you do and you're passionately involved in your work and you're going after a goal, you can actually live a healthier, better, stronger life. Where the unhealthiness comes from and going after these massive goals is when you don't love what you do. I'm the worst person for that. If you tell me you don't love what you do, I tell you to quit. Like I'm not here to make you feel good about your career. But having a smarter goal, you have to be so emotionally invested that nothing else matters. That goal is everything you think about. And I share the story, and I know we share the story. An old Cutco alumni, Lauren Gibbs, U.S. Olympic medalist. I've shared that story in the book, and I'm like, look, she dropped everything, and she was so emotionally invested to her pursuit for the Olympics that there was nothing else that mattered. Nothing else mattered. So how come HR doesn't say, hey, set a smarter goal that you're so emotionally invested you care about? Because we typically only care about what's in it for us, right? What's in this goal for me? So a SMART goal is corporate Gabra. A SMART goal is basic foundation. To set a smarter goal, you have to identify what are the emotions involved and get emotionally invested. And the R, what's the reward? I mean, let's be honest, right? Sure. Better than rich, catapulting commissions. What's the reward for my goal? And it's something we talk about. Like, hey, what are you going to achieve when you hit your goal? No. When I want to go after a goal and I want to set a smarter goal, my reward every time, life-changing. And that's what I say. I'm like, what's the life-changing goal you're going to go after for? And it's hard for people to visualize, well, how do I create a life-changing goal? Simple. Create a big enough goal that's going to change your life. Now, am I saying create a goal that in 6 months to tomorrow you're going to be the next Elon Musk and you're going to take over the financial universe? No. But we can set a goal that can take that first step to move you closer. So what's the reward at the end? And is that reward enough to keep you on track? Because you can have a SMART goal, but if you don't have emotions associated with it and there's not a reward that you're ready to fight for, you're not going to achieve your goal. So that's why I say SMART goals are dumb.
Awesome, man. Great take. I was going to ask you a little bit more. I was like, okay, well, what do you suggest in replacement? But I love how you've actually just extended it to smarter goals. That's super smart. No pun intended there.
That's my clickbait title. Smart goals are dumb. It works
Yeah,
all the
man,
time.
that's money. I love it. I think it just kind of gets back to, I wrote down, just what's your why, right? It's a similar way of thinking about it. What are your emotions and what's your reward? But it's like being connected to why what you're doing matters. If you don't have that, you don't really have a real goal. You don't have a real vision. You need to have your what, that's your vision. You need to have your why, that's your reasoning, your emotion, your reward. You need to have your who, which is like, who do I need to become? Who must I learn from? Who do I need to see myself as in order to hit this goal? And then you have your how, right? And if we constantly, what most people are doing is just what, how, right? I need to lose 30 pounds. How am I going to do it? You skipped a couple steps there, right? It's like we have to be emotionally invested. Otherwise, we're not going to get to the finish line, because most of the goals that we want to hit by definition are hard. Otherwise, we would have already hit them, right? So, yeah, sounds like you want to say something on that.
No, I was gonna say, Andrew, have you met somebody? You said weight loss, and it made me think about it. Have you met somebody who said, "Hey, I want to lose weight," and then they have the goal over and over again, they can't get there? Let that person go to the doctor, take some blood work, and the doctor say, "Hey, you're pre-diabetic. You don't change, you're gonna die in 4 years. You're gonna die in 1 year." You want to talk about emotions? You want to talk about reward? That person will be the healthiest person on the planet in 24 hours, because the emotion is there, the reward is there. So that's all. I was just putting a bow on what you said.
Love it. So talk to me a little bit more. A lot of my audience is B2C. I have a lot of B2B people, but I also speak to a lot of leaders of teams, which obviously you're also great at speaking to. What would you say is the biggest difference, though, for B2B versus B2C? You've lived in both universes a little bit. So talk to me a little bit, and when you think about the B2B sales process versus B2C, and help us kind of contextualize what the difference is from your perspective.
Yeah. So I would say this. In the terms of what we talked about in the beginning of the show, of why somebody would say yes or why somebody would say no, that stays pretty relevant. The difference in B2C and B2B, B2C, you're typically with the decision maker. There's no one else involved in that process, right? You go direct to the person that's most influential. Maybe you have to have a husband and wife together, a mother, daughter, a father, son. Maybe it's in two siblings, but for the most part, you are direct access to that consumer. And here's what B2C gives you the opportunity to, that B2B gets a little clouded in. B2C will give you direct access to identify what's important to your consumer. If you run a great discovery process, if you run a great set of questions, whatever the process or methodology, you can typically uncover what's important to your prospect in B2C within one visit, within one appointment, within 10 or 15 minutes. You can identify that. And as long as you remember, people say yes to experience a pleasure or to avoid a pain, you can tailor what you're going to sell. It's less steps involved in B2C. Now, in B2B, you have more decision makers. You have more people that can, for the lack of better words, sideline your deal. So in B2B, it's a multiple step sales process. And I tell this to everyone who's been on my team, who's worked with me. Your job is to sell the person you're in front of, whatever it is you're selling. Now, they're like, oh, well, this person can't make a decision to sign my contract. This person can't make a decision to use my trash services or whatever it is. No, they can't. But this person can give you the information you need to be successful with the next person. And sometimes that's all we need. This person can endorse you behind closed doors when you're not there. So in B2B, it's a series of small sales taking place to an ultimate big sale. Where in B2C, it's typically a transaction-based industry. And sometimes, you go to B2C, it can get complex when you get into car sales and real estate sales. But at the end of the day, you're always dealing with that decision maker. You're always knowing what your prospect's going to say yes or no to. In B2B, you have a lot of outside influences. You have to do, if you fail at the discovery in B2B, you will not get the deal. If you fail at the discovery at B2C, if your product is good enough, typically you can mask that, which, you and I both came from the Cutco background. And I remember one of my mentors early in my career, when I was like, oh man, I'm such a great salesperson. He said, sell something else, because that product was so good.
Sure.
It masked some of the shortcomings. Now, 20 years later, we've mastered our craft. We've completely committed to it. But that's really where the difference is in B2C and B2B. The reason someone says yes remains the same. B2C, early, easier access to your end user, your decision maker. B2B, it's a series of small sales leading up to one big sale.
Nice. I like the idea that you're always selling the person in front of you, whether they're going to sign the check at the end of the day, click on the DocuSign or whatever. You're still selling that person. The ask might just be the next meeting, right? The ask might be an introduction to the decision maker. You're kind of creating a champion to endorse you behind closed doors, as you said, to say, hey, we should get a call with this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And sometimes, like, just how emphatically they insist that the decision maker get on the call with you is all the difference, right? So I think that's really cool. Any tips on getting to decision makers in B2B, whether it's getting past gatekeepers or just targeting the right folks from the start?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this: the most creative person wins in B2B, getting to a decision maker. And two, your decision makers have a habit. They have a habitual habit that they follow. Your job is to learn that habit. That's it. Once you learn that person's habitual habit, you can get in front of that person. Look, the average sale in B2B sales doesn't take place till the seventh call. Mm-hmm. It's the reps who give up on the first 6 that don't make the sale. So I remember clearly in my B2B days, whether it was B2B straight to businesses, B2B working in the medical field, I remember identifying my prospect and following my prospect and saying, okay, I know every Tuesday morning this person walks to their office. And then I started realizing their Tuesday morning, their walk from where they parked their car to walk to their office was between 6 and 6:15 religiously. Guess what I did? I showed up every Tuesday morning and I found a creative reason to be within that person's atmosphere. So to get to that decision maker, let's go to a traditional B2B format, right? I'm calling on an office. There's a gatekeeper. There's somebody there. It's a sales process. What am I going to say to this person in front that's going to give me the access to that person? And you know what? It may not be the access on the first visit. It may just be information. Hey, I'm here to see, the owner of the company. We don't take unsolicited cold calls. Man, you know what? I'm so sorry. I forgot my notebook. I didn't write it down. What was the owner's name? The owner's name is Bob. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is Bob typically here Mondays through Fridays? Yeah, great. I'll see you next week. I come next week, Monday through Friday. Hey, is Bob here today? Bob doesn't see unsolicited appointments, unsolicited visitors. Susie, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot to bring. I'm so sorry. I will do a better job. How's the best way to get an appointment? Well, you can leave your card and I'll give it to him. No problem, Susie. I'll be back next week. Next week, I come in with the tall, skinny vanilla latte that's $3 or $4 from Starbucks. I walk in. I'm like, Susie, it's early in the morning. Totally thought you would need a cup of coffee today. Look, I'm not here to sell you anything. Take it down. Human emotion. I'm not here to sell you anything. Honestly, look, I just want to get a few minutes of Bob's time. I know he's here Monday through Friday. What's the least disruptive time that I can track him down? And I continue that process of wearing that person down in front of me by being different every time. And then, this is sales 101, Andrew. What value are we giving to this person that has this access? Mm-hmm. And typically in calling in B2B, that front door person, that gatekeeper, they need something. There's something of value that you can give to that person. What is it? And once you identify what that is of value, you can bring to that person that value on a consistent basis. And I've shared this. I have done everything for these people in value. When I was in payroll sales, I remember, as the calendar year gets crazy and tax season gets crazy, I just made these laminated cards on what were important dates, what were just the basics, what were the important dates, what were the phone numbers, how does someone check out? I laminated them and I would walk to the gatekeeper. Look, I'm not here to see, the main partner of the firm, but I brought this here for you because I imagine as you check customers out, some of these dates are pretty important. I brought this here. You could tape it right here. If you can find some time, call me. If not, no worries. And I would leave it, knowing that it was something of value to them. And when I would come back the next time, I'd bring that vanilla latte or that gourmet cupcake or something like, hey, I thought specifically of you, Susie, try this thing out. And then I wouldn't even say anything. And if you do enough value drops to that gatekeeper, they typically want to help you out.
Right.
But where sales reps and B2B mess up is they assume that their job as a salesperson is more important than the job of the gatekeeper. They assume that that gatekeeper knows how valuable you are, or how much of a bigwig you are in your company. They don't know. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So what's in it for that person? And once you identify that, you can get past that gatekeeper.
Awesome. This is some really good stuff. So hopefully you guys are taking some notes. By the way, we are live, so if you have questions, we can interact in the chat. I haven't seen anything come through. I think our system is synced here. So if you do have some questions for either myself or Anthony, again, Anthony Garcia, author and podcast host of the Catapulting Commissions book and podcast, international bestseller, incredible stuff in terms of what he teaches. So if you do have questions, please drop them in the chat and we will answer them in turn as long as they are appropriate for the topic we're talking through. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
This positive no, I wrote that down earlier. Hey, I'm not here to sell you anything. I've taught people to say that too. I say it myself quite a bit. And here's like my real take on this. I want to, like, it has to not just be a line. Like, you actually have to mean it, right? Like, I'm not here to sell you anything, right? You know, of course, you're taking time. It's a sales call. You're on an appointment. It kind of sounds silly or stupid to say because actually the purpose of the meeting is to make a sale. But the way kind of I like to frame that is, I'm not here to sell you anything. What I'm here to do is to see if it's a fit. And if it's not a fit, I don't want to sell you anything. The last thing I want you to do, Anthony, is waste your money on me, right? If it's not a fit, let's not work together. Okay, does that sound fair? If it is a fit, though, I can tell you a little bit about how we work with our clients and maybe we decide to work together. What's your take on that? Like, actually meaning and not really having an agenda, but really just being service oriented. I think sometimes people use these lines because they know it works instead of really meaning it. Like, how do you avoid that sort of moral quandary, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is you have to be authentic with everything you say, right? If you don't have a sense of authenticity in your sales process, your prospects could sniff that out right away. So, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything when I'm the sales rep, right? I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron. Of course, I'm here to sell you something. You know, I get paid when you say yes. But what you said, Andrew, is totally right. I'm here to see if this is a fit. Mm-hmm. And if you go look at some of the most expensive sales programs, most expensive products out there that are being sold, it's not, I'm here to sell you anything. I'm here to see if it's a fit. I'm here to see if you can afford it, to be honest. I mean, that's the brutal honesty of it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't go into Rolls Royce and be like, hey, can you sell me this? No, they're actually seeing, are you a fit? Can you afford it? Do you have the funds? Like, it's a qualifying process. So when you tell somebody, I'm not here to sell you anything, I say that because, truth be told, when someone looks at you, you're trying to sell something, I'm not trying to push something down your throat, which is why when I see this hardcore closing, these high ticket closers, and I'm not gonna say the names of these gurus, but when I see that, I'm like, dude, that's BS. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist because that hardcore methodology died with Charlie Sheen and Wall Street and whatever these movies were. I don't know if it was Charlie Sheen, whoever it was. It died in that era, right?
Wall Street, greed is good.
Yeah, that doesn't apply anymore, right? My consumer is so smart, smart that if I say something, for example, I bought something the other day from a door-to-door salesman. He made a statement to me about my energy. I'm like, I mean, on the table, I pulled up my phone. I'm like, holy crap, dude, you're telling the truth, right? Okay. You're fact checking these salespeople, right? Mm-hmm. So to sit there and say, hey, I'm not here to sell you something, it's more along the lines of, and I look, I value your business, Andrew. I don't need your business. I value it. And I tell people, look, at the end of the day, I want to be able to run across you at the grocery store, at Starbucks, and for you to say, hey, Anthony, how's it going? To be content that we've crossed paths and we are mutually respectful to each other. And if that means I don't have something that you're interested in, so be it. But you have to have that authentic belief. And you can only develop that belief when, one, you're confident in your sales process. Two, you have a pipeline that's filled that you know you're going to continue to get business. And when people struggle with that, they get this commission breath. They get this desperation that I have to make the sale. My back's against the wall. I'm going to do whatever. I'm closing this next deal. And they get this eagerness to them. You lose all of that authenticity and you change the I'm here to solve a problem for you to I'm here to solve a problem for me. The problem for me is I need money, and if you buy, I get money. And when that switch takes place, you no longer can say, I'm not here to sell you anything.
Awesome. I wrote down pipeline management. I know we were kind of going to talk about that. Honestly, dude, I think we could talk for like 10 hours and not exhaust all the topics. So at some point we'll have to circle back. You said when somebody has a solid pipeline, they can have that confidence, right? I call it being unattached to the outcome, just not really truly caring whether or not this person buys or not, and just being a service oriented individual. So how does someone, manage pipeline in general? For those who really aren't as familiar with the concept of pipeline, like help people understand what a pipeline is, and then some of your best tips for not just, because here's what I see a lot in B2B is like someone will have like a meteoric rise, have like a great year, and they just happen to close like a handful of big deals. And then next year, everything's dry. They can barely hit their quota. So walk me through like how does someone actually create consistency in B2B, and talk a little bit about this concept of pipeline management, if you will.
Yeah. So the whole concept of having pipeline management and where that confidence comes, where you don't need every deal, is you have enough touches, you have enough prospects, you have enough people to sell your product. It goes to the old saying, right? And I remember when I was first brand new into management, I had reps of like, dude, I could sell everything and every time if somebody would just set up the appointments for me. I could sell everything if someone could just get me the customers. Dude, so could I. If I did that, why would I have to hire you? No, it's having a funnel of people to talk to. It's having a pipeline, a set of steps that your prospects are going to go through before they say yes. When in B2B, we get so tunnel vision on this goal. So for example, we'll use real time. Today is January 26th, right? If I was in B2B right now and I'm like, okay, how's my pipeline looking? I promise you, the deals I'm closing today were forecasted and planned back in October, September, August of last year. And the deals that are being funneled into my pipeline now are April, May, June. I'm always looking what's ahead. And the mistake we make is we get this tunnel vision of, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have the biggest January ever. And we've all done it, right? And I say this as like it's easy, and I say this with confidence. And I'm telling you this, and I don't want to seem unauthentic. I say this because it's happened multiple times. You have this huge year, this huge month, you make the most money ever, and the next month you're like, holy crap, dude, I can't close a deal. I can't get a prospect to sit down with me. My commission check's gonna suck. I have to start using money that I saved from the last deal or from the last month to pay my cost.
Or worse yet, you didn't save that money and you thought you were gonna make it every single month, and then you find out, oh, that was actually rare. That's interesting. That's
oh my goodness, man. One of my original mentors, we had a conversation a couple months ago about financial management, and who I am today at 37 and a half years old and who I was back when I was 18 is not the same person. And if I knew what I knew now back then, oh my goodness, that'd be, but hindsight's 2020. But that goes to that process of that pipeline management. You have to have a set of people, and to get the most out of your pipeline, people focus on the wrong part of the sales process. The average salesperson, the entry-level salesperson, focuses on the deal in front of me. I'm going to close this deal. This deal is going to get me home. This deal is going to make my month. This deal is going to make my year. You should have been focusing on that deal 5 months ago, because a high-level performer, a top 1%er, isn't just focusing on this deal. They're looking at their pipeline saying, holy crap, dude, I should have 30 prospects lined up, and I only have 22. I'm going to work my tail off to have 30 prospects lined up. And guess what? Every time I meet with somebody and they go through my pipeline and I realize either A, they buy, or no, they didn't, they fall off my pipeline, I have to replace that person. If you treat your pipeline management with the same intensity of the actual transaction of saying yes, you don't run out of people to sell to. You don't run out of that process. The problem is it's delayed gratification. And this is 2021. I mean, if our iPhone doesn't load data within a second, we're like, what in the hell's going on? Salespeople have that same process. Delayed gratification. Pipeline management's delayed gratification. Top 1%ers focus on that and ensure that pipeline's feeling robust.
Love it, man. Awesome stuff. One of the things I was thinking about for people who run teams, when we're thinking about helping people make these larger investments in B2B and gaining buy-in, is when you're selling that, it's a little bit like leadership development for people who run teams. you're selling this idea, you're selling them on an opportunity, or you're selling them on working hard. Have you found a lot of similarities between sales and leadership? Would you say there's a big difference, or what have you noticed there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a definite connect between sales and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
In sales, we're selling a tangible product or service, right? You say, yes, I'm selling this, you get this in return. In leadership, you're often selling your vision. You're often
Totally.
selling someone's vision to themselves. And that transition of, hey, I'm going to sell a product or tangible service to I'm going to sell a vision is really challenging for leaders. It's a new sales leader, no matter how talented you are, will struggle in the beginning, because making that transition, you go from being off yourself, which sales is an individual sport, right? I know we focus on the team and you have to have a group, and I talk a lot about having a group, but at the end of the day, selling something is an individual sport. I sell you a product, you purchase the product, I get a commission, I make money. I. You transition to leadership, and now it's I have 10 people, 20 people, 50 people that have to go sell a product, that have to make money. It's no longer about it's about the we. So you get off yourself and you get on purpose. You start to focus on what that person can be impacted from by your leadership. And I say this as someone who's led teams for years. I literally lose sleep when the people who work for me haven't made the money that I told them they would make, haven't hit the goals that I told them I would help. That bothers me so much more than having a bad commission month. That bothers me. And it bothers me even more. Like, if I have a team and I know I've made great money because my team is doing well and killing, but I have that one rep who's struggling, that one rep bothers me because we're disconnecting somewhere. I haven't held on my end of the bargain, and I take that as a personal responsibility. So making that transition, you have to sell a vision. And sometimes you're selling your own vision. Sometimes you're selling the corporate vision. Sometimes you're selling that person's vision back to them. It just depends on the situation.
Awesome, man. I love I lose sleep when someone's not hitting their numbers. And that's the sort of care and attention that a great leader needs to have. I know a lot of people listening to this run teams. And if your people aren't hitting their goals and not making the money you guys talked about, I see a lot of people they want to avoid the topic. And I think the exact opposite is necessary. Let's take the topic head on. Like, what's going on? Let's get to the bottom of this. And some people want to kind of sweep it under the rug. I say, hey, let's talk about the elephant in the room. You're not making money. What's going on? Because everyone else is on the team. Why aren't you? So I got a question here from Marlon. Let's see if we can see what he has to say. He says, hey, before you get on a sales call, what are your main things to accomplish in your marketing that it's trust-based, authentic marketing, not hype? I think this is really good, especially as you've gotten more into the marketing space lately with your book and with your podcast. But I guess the general question here is, how do you gain trust, right? Because ultimately, we're trying to get in front of someone and have them open up, but people have a natural aversion to salespeople kind of by default. People are naturally skeptical. So how do we gain trust? How do you earn trust? And how do you specifically make sure that there's trust in your marketing?
So I would say this, the number one mistake that we make in marketing is we try to market to the masses, right? We try to market our product, our service, our offering to the masses, and we don't market it to the ideal client. And you want to gain trust, market your product or service to one person. That's it. If I know my product or service offering is going to be marketed to just one person, and Andrew, you and I both know this principle, we know this philosophy. I'm going to create this client avatar. This is the exact person I'm going to talk to every time. So every marketing piece, every social media post, every live blog, every podcast, every flyer, every email is sent to my client avatar. We'll call my client avatar Olaf. It's the name of my dog. If everything I'm doing is going to go directly to Olaf, and I do it with an authentic approach, and I'm always telling the truth, but I know what's important to Olaf is what I'm talking about, then it comes off authentic. When I say, hey, and I struggle, I have clients who tell me, I'm like, who's your product designed for? Everyone. And I respond, well, not everyone's going to buy. So who are we going to focus on? So to get that marketing with an authentic approach, it has to be delivered to that one person. And if you create your client avatar, this ideal person, just the one person. If you had to make one sale and that one sale paid you $10 million every year for the rest of your life, what would that marketing piece look like? What would that collateral piece look like? What would that email piece look like? And once you create that, you'll start to realize there are problems that Olaf has, our client avatar, that you haven't solved yet. There are problems that they haven't realized yet. And so my marketing is going to highlight the problems that exist for my client avatar. And once it comes across that all I'm focusing on is you, it's incredibly authentic. And here's how you know you've gotten it right. You sit with your prospect, and when you sit with your prospect and they've seen your marketing pieces, they trust you before you even walk in. I can't name how many times I've spoken with somebody who's read my book, listened to my podcast, watched the blog, and we start talking, and there's a level of trust that's there because it's authentic. And then when they say, hey, I'm 100% true story, I'm struggling with my goal setting process. Walk me what you do. I set a SMART goal. That's stupid. That's my response. But yeah, I wrote it in the book. Yeah, I've set it up. You know why? Because it's truly how I believe. We're going to tailor your thinking. I'm going to show you. I'm not here just giving you lip service. Everything I say, everything I market is truly authentic and it's designed for that one person. So Marlon, I would say having that piece designed to solve that one problem or the series of problems for your client avatar is going to create an authentic approach.
Awesome. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Having a client avatar, a lot of people haven't really thought through that. And just making sure you understand who that individual is. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be people who don't match that avatar, who are going to purchase from you, but you want to have a very good specific focus when it comes to who you're trying to target to, instead of trying to target the masses, and make sure it appeals to everyone. Because trying to appeal to everyone is a surefire way to make sure it appeals to no one, is a good way of saying that.
Absolutely.
Basically, we want to be polarizing. So we want to, just like a magnet, we want to really attract the people we want on our squad and who we want to work with, who we want to be our clients and our customers. And quite frankly, I actually want to repel, right? Just like a magnet will repel if the poles are not correct, the people who aren't, right? Because they're a waste of your time. Why should you even have sales calls with them? Sure, they're great people, but they aren't great clients. So let's not spend time, doing calls with them. Jonathan Gibson asks, how was your approach to selling changed during the pandemic? Obviously, this has been a crazy year and a interesting topic for many podcasters to explore. What's your take, man? How has your approach to selling changed throughout this past 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think one, we have to have a higher level of emotional intelligence. First part, right? There has to be a heightened level of emotional intelligence for your prospect, for your product, for everything around you. And I'm gonna give you an example. My wife owns an eyelash studio.
Okay.
Well, and I can say this now because California just opened up, or our county just opened up.
Sure.
But when she opened up her eyelash studio, she never closed down. We weren't supposed to be open. The doors weren't supposed to be open. There wasn't supposed to be people coming in. And I had the guy from Yelp calling every day to try to sell Yelp advertising services. I listened to the guy. I was super professional. My wife listened to the guy. We're super professional. We're like, look, man, I got to be honest with you. The timing doesn't work. Because if I promote and advertise on Yelp, I'm saying I'm open. I'm not allowed to be open because I get a fine. My artists in here, they're not allowed to be open because they'll get a fine. We are kind of going rogue. We're prohibition style eyelashes. This guy couldn't get it for the life of him. He called every day. And I'm like, look, dude, I know I wrote the book Catapult. I get it, dude. This is not cue to be more aggressive. This is cue to demonstrate a higher level of emotional intelligence. So selling in the pandemic, you have to understand what is happening in your prospect's life. There's objections and there's conditions. An objection, your product's too expensive. A condition, I just lost my job because of the pandemic. You can't control conditions. You can impact objections. So because the pandemic exists, it's a higher level of emotional intelligence, but more importantly, you have to realize commerce is happening. People are buying. Somebody is saying yes somewhere. It might take a little more output than we're used to. And it's the ugly word, and salespeople don't like to hear it, but the truth is, if you have kept your sales stats, meaning you know how many prospects you have to talk to, how many appointments you have to set, how much outbound marketing you have to do to close a deal, that number might get a little higher during the pandemic. It's not that you're a bad salesperson. It's not that you're a bad marketer. It's just more of your prospects have conditions that you can't overcome. A salesperson is the best fisherman in the world. Your job is to find that prospect. Don't get upset because the process takes longer. And I hear that with people, and I one of my clients sells financial services or loans, and I'm like, look, I promise you, right now in America, there is a business owner that's saying, crap, I need a loan to keep my business open. Your job's to find that person. Because if you don't think they exist, turn on the news and watch how many businesses are closing down. So to tell me no one's signing loans because of the pandemic, this guy that was on the news needed a loan. That business that just closed their building needed a loan. We have to put more output out. So my approach with selling in the pandemic is your stats aren't going to look as good. You have to have a higher level of emotional intelligence, know when to push, when to pull off. And if you're doing sales for a lifelong career, it's just one long game. Literally, whether I close the deal in February or December, it's one long game. My job is to get sustainable long-term revenue, not short-term transactional deals, which is why I'll say it again on air. I hate the high-ticket, hardcore closing philosophy. I think it's a bunch of crap. So,
awesome. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. One long game, right? I oftentimes kind of equate it to the NBA, right? I know you're a sports fan. You're a Lakers fan, right? Is that right? So,
yep.
You guys are having a lot of fun right now. I mean, well, kind of a lot of fun in that you have a great team, but also, if I'm not mistaken, is it the 1 year anniversary of Kobe's death?
Yeah,
is that correct?
It is. Yeah, that is correct.
A little bit of a bittersweet moment. I know you're a big Kobe fan. But I kind of equate it to, years ago when Popovich kind of created this strategy of sitting his stars, right? No one had really done it much back in when I was growing up. Michael Jordan would never dream of sitting out because he just had too much pride, right? But now, enough data and enough analytics has come out where it's like, okay, on the second leg of a back-to-back, we always rest our aging stars. And he had like Duncan and Ginobili and all these, and Parker at the twilight of their career. And so he started to sit these guys. And so it's like, he needed to make sure he won enough games to get to the playoffs. You got to make sure you make enough money to pay your bills this month. You got to make sure you make enough money to get by and to stay in the game, right? And to make the playoffs, to continue the analogy. But the goal isn't to just make the playoffs. The goal isn't to try to go 82-0 in the NBA regular season. The goal is to have your stars have fresh legs so you can make a serious run at the championship. And so we are constantly thinking about playing this long game. And in business, you could push, alienate somebody, and then they never want to talk to you again. They'll never pick up your call. They'll never answer your email. They'll block your number or whatever, all because you try to win some random game on a random Tuesday against the Cleveland Cavaliers instead of trying to make sure you were poised for a championship. So I'd much rather play the long game. And, if someone says they have a condition, I wrote that down. I honestly have never heard that. I don't know if that's like common phraseology, but I really liked it. If somebody actually has a real condition in their lives, we need to know when to push and when to pull. If it's an objection, of course, try to get to the bottom of it. But if it's a condition, let's just say, hey, cool, no problem. Can I call you again in 6 months? Can we chat? Let's chat next quarter. When's a good time to follow up? And ultimately, people respect that and appreciate that. So, any other thoughts on that, Anthony?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's funny you said that, right? I had a conversation this morning with one of my mentors, and we were talking about compensation, we were talking about income, and he was like, he says, with all honesty, man, the goal right now is for the team, we need people to survive, right? We don't want people,
Sure.
No one's going to get incredibly rich. We just don't want no one going incredibly poor. We need people to survive. And I was like, you know what, man, at the end of the day, it's sink or swim. I just need my team to tread water. I just need them to keep their head above water, and let's get through this. And, sometimes that's the unfortunate reality is, look, it's a long process. So maybe for 2 months, I'm just treading water. Let this thing change. Let this pandemic change. Let something happen. As long as I stay in the game, I'm going to win. When you quit or you over leverage yourself, which can be a total another financial conversation, then you're forced to make some difficult decisions. But right now, I would say, I totally agree with you, man. Let's just tread water. Let's stay alive in the game.
Yeah, totally. So, like I said, I think we could continue talking for hours. We'll have to do round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5 at a later date. But yeah, man, let the people know, man, where can they find you, and how can we learn more about catapulting commissions and follow you along on your journey?
Yeah, man. Well, one, I appreciate it, man. One, you can go to anthonypgarcia.com. That's my website. Everything you connected is there. If you want to download a copy of the book for free, you just text the word hello to 661-228-8967. I don't know if you can put that in the comments. I tried commenting as we were talking. It doesn't, for some reason, doesn't allow me to comment back.
No worries.
But,
Can you
and
say
two,
that, say that number again?
Yeah, 661 228 8967. Just text the word hello. You'll get an automatic response back with a link to download the ebook. Now, you can download that book for free. It's available on Amazon. You can buy it on my website. Dude, just take the book for free. The content is fabulous. You can definitely learn some things from it. But I think the cool thing, Andrew, is you and I got connected with Real Sales Training, which is a community group for people like you and me, or you and I, get proper English here, who believe that there is a way to sell that is authentic. There's a way to sell that is serving, that there's a way to sell that is not pushy. And we've got connected with this real sales training development community. And people can definitely get connected with that. It's a free community. There's some phenomenal sales professionals and sales coaches in that group and entrepreneurs. So I'd love to see some of you guys get there. At bare minimum, just connect with me here on Facebook, and you'll see my post to get all that stuff. But anthonypgarcia.com, you'll learn everything. Podcast, Catapulting Commissions. You'll see an amazing group of people come on that show as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man, for adding so much value to everybody. Yeah, check out the Real Sales community. We are doing some really cool stuff there and just building that up. Really, all we want to do is just add value and have like-minded professionals who think similarly to Anthony and I, who aren't kind of this hardcore closer sort of cut from that cloth. We're much more authentic and real and just want to serve our customers as much as possible. So if that's you, join us there. Check Anthony out. Check out his website. I put it on the screen here, but text the number there for a copy of the free ebook. And that's all we have for you today. Anthony, anything before we wrap up?
Dude, Andrew, I'm so humbled and honored that we spent some time together today, man. We're going to have to do this again. And I think with us being involved in the Real Sales Training and Development community, you'll start to see more content like this just coming out on a Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, just talking, man. I'm so glad. I mean, having this conversation with you, I hope it helped our audience get a sharper set of skills, because I know it helps me just to talk it out with another person that's like-minded that wants to pursue greatness. So thanks a lot, buddy.
Awesome. Good night, everyone. Have a good one. And remember to leave today better than you found it. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.